अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम सलाम। ठीक से मेरा।
सर एक सवाल है। यील्ड परसेंटेज जब निकालते हैं हम लोग तो लाइक जिसकी एक्चुअल दी होती है, किसी भी सॉल्ट की एक्चुअल दी हुई होगी और हमने उसकी थ्योरेटिकल निकालनी है, राइट? पहले
हाँ, एक्चुअल वो देंगे।
और सर उसी एलिमेंट की निकालनी है।
हाँ।
लाइक अगर 10 ग्राम्स ऑफ NaCl दिया हुआ है तो अब हमें थ्योरेटिकल में भी उसकी निकालनी है ना, NaCl की।
क्या निकाल रहे हैं?
नहीं, अगर यील्ड परसेंटेज कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं, अगर 10 ग्राम्स ऑफ NaCl दिया हुआ है जो कि एक्चुअल है,
हाँ
अब
हाँ।
थ्योरेटिकल में भी उसका ही निकालेंगे, राइट?
हाँ, उसी का निकालोगे। अच्छा, एक से देना। तो अच्छा, वन थिंग व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू नाउ इज कि वी विल डू आयोनिक इक्वेशंस। ठीक है, वी आर पास सॉल्व प्रिपरेशन, we'll keep on practicing solve preparation, uh, but for the moment we'll do ionic equations. ठीक है, so what is an ionic equation? ठीक है, that's the topic that we're going to discuss. So ionic equation, remember हमने we did like five, I think we did like five equations. So you had all those five equations: metal plus acid, right? And then you had metal oxide plus acid. So then you had metal hydroxide plus acid. So you had metal hydroxide plus acid, और उसके बाद you had metal carbonate plus acid. And the last one that we did was ammonia plus acid. And all of these, they would produce salts. So all of these would produce salts. You get the first one would produce salt plus H2. Yeah, that's the first one, salt plus. The second one would, and the third one would produce salt plus H2O. The carbonate one would produce salt plus water plus carbon dioxide. And the last one would produce ammonium. I say it would produce ammonium salt. Okay, we did all of these equations. Okay, we did all of them. We know how to make those equations. We know how to write the state. Achha, so for example, you've got magnesium, and that magnesium is reacting with nitric acid, okay, which is HNO3. So salt plus H2 would be produced. The H is going to be knocked out, and Mg would take its place. So Mg is group 2, so it's plus 2. NO3 is minus 1, so the formula would be MgNO3 twice. And the H will get knocked out, it will produce H2 gas. So we have this equation. We made a lot of metal plus acid equation. I'm just going to do another one. For example, I've got Al reacting with hydrochloric acid. The same thing would happen, that it will produce. The H will get knocked out, and Al will replace the H, and the H that has been knocked out will produce H2 gas. Al is group 3, so it's plus 3. Cl is group 7, so it's minus 1. So the formula would be AlClC, and so on. So you've got uh, similarly, you've got sodium plus, let's say, phosphoric acid, and same thing would happen. The H will get knocked out, so it's going to be Na and PO4. Then the H will get knocked out, produce H2 gas. Na is group 1 plus 1. PO4 has a charge of -3. So the formula would be Na3PO4, right? As anyway, so you have these three equations. What we are interested in is we're going to balance them first. First one, if I want to balance this, there are two ends over here. There's only one, so I'm just going to add two over here, and the rest would all be balanced. The H is balanced, okay? So everything else looks balanced. I'd say यहाँ पे the next one, we're going to try and balance this. There are 3Cl, so I'm going to have 3Cl on the other side. There would be, there's only one Al, so there's one Al on this side. There are three H's. So I need three H's over here. Now that's a problem. Okay, I would have to go into fractions to have three H's, right? But there's no whole number that I can multiply so that I get three H's. So what I can do is I can multiply it by 3.
6.
So 6 H's. So this one would
इसको
also
6 से
be,
कर दें और AlCl को 2 से कर दें.
okay, so Cl would be 6 as well. So, and Al would also be
2.
2. Of the last one, there are 3 NAs on the right side. There you have 3 NAs. It's maybe the same issue. You've got 3 H's, you've got 2 H's. So 6. So then you have P would double as well. So Na would become 6. Is this thing clear? The
जी
next,
सर.
the next thing is the states. Remember, Mg is a solid. Al is a metal as well, that's a solid. Na is a metal as well, and that's a solid as well. All acids are soluble, so these are all of them are aqueous. So anything that has NO3 in it, that is soluble. So that's going to be aqueous. Anything that has Cl in it, what was the rule for solubility? It was that all Cl, Pr or
और
I are
soluble.
soluble, except for silver and lead. So this one is also, it's also soluble. Okay, so that would be, I'm going to write aqueous. This is group 1, Na, so all group 1 compounds are soluble, and H2 is a gas. So all of these are gases. So these are your normal equations. We wrote down the states. Now, how do we convert that into your ionic equation? So what is the ionic equation? There's certain premises. Step number 1 is any ionic compound, if it dissolves, which means if it is aqueous, then it dissociates. Dissociates means that in water, the ions and they are floating around. They are separate from each other. So, for example, if I write that magnesium and nitrate, it's aqueous, right? Because it's very soluble. That would mean that they're going to go into water, and your ions will all dissociate. They will no longer be together. Mg ions would be floating around, and nitrate ions would be floating around in water, and they'll be separate from each other. And because it's NO3 twice, so there's going to be 2. Achha, remember, I told you previously as well that this big 2 means that there are 2 nitrate ions and they're all separate from each other, floating around. Okay, dissociated wala, we did the solubility part. Let me go back and show you, okay, what do we mean. This is what is meant when an ionic compound, let's say NaCl, it's mixed in water, it scatters into its ions. which means that it has dissociated, which means that if you write NaCl aqueous, what that actually means is that the sodium ions and your Cl ions, they are no longer they are no longer together. They are basically floating around separately. Okay, is this clear? Yes, this clear. Nabila, Rania, is this clear? Zara?
Yes, sir.
Achha, so coming back to our equations. So magnesium nitrate, if it's aqueous, that means the ions are separate. Okay, the small two indicates that they're all together, they're all joined together in a crystal. But when they're separate, you use the big two. As a similarly, if you have sodium phosphate, and they say it's aqueous, well, that also means that the Na plus one and the PO4 minus 3 ions, they are separate from each other. Right? The two ions, there were sodium ions and there was phosphate ions. They're no longer together, they're separate from each other. And because the formula had 3 sodium ions, I wrote 3. Okay? Remember to convert that into big 3. Similarly, if you have sulfuric acid, if it's aqueous, it will dissociate as well. So there's what ions are present in sulfuric acid? There's H plus 1 and there is SO4, that's minus 2. And in aqueous state, the ions are floating around separately, and you're going to write 2H plus 1. Okay? So this is clear. So that's the first one. An ionic compound, if it dissolves, then it dissociates. That's the first part. So we're going to do just that. I'm going to pick this equation. I can pick any equation that we made, and I can convert that into the ionic equation. So
तो ये इसका रूल है सर?
हाँ पहले तो dissociate, ठीक है?
लाइक कितने
Rule
रूल हैं टोटल में?
so rule number 1, ठीक है? This is rule number 2 rules है. ठीक है? That's rule number 1. That ionic compounds they dissociate. ठीक है? So for example, so I'm going to apply rule number 1 first. So Mg solid remains as it is. Nothing will happen to it. Nitric acid is aqueous. That means it will dissociate. उसका मतलब है कि it's H plus 1 ions and the NO3 minus 1 ions that make up nitric acid. In water, they would be floating around separately. Okay, is this clear? Or since there are two nitric acid, there's going to be 2H plus or 2 NO3 minus 1 ions. Okay, clear है ये? Clear है कि नहीं clear? Yeah, is this clear? Zara, Rania, Nabila, is this clear?
यस सर.
Okay. So you've got magnesium nitrate. That's also aqueous, right?
यस सर.
So what that would mean is that it will also dissociate. So what? So arrow, pehle, let me make the arrow. So what are my ions? It's magnesium ions and it's NO3 minus 1 ions. And they're no longer together. They are separate. They've dissociated. And because the formula had two NO3s, I'm going to write two NO3s. Okay? And the next thing is H2 gas. So H2 gas is just H2 gas. Remember, ionic compounds, the things that have ions, if they are aqueous, they will dissociate. Okay? So only these two things are going to dissociate. That's now rule number 2, applying rule number 2. Rule number 2 is cancel out spectator ions. That don't do anything. They don't undergo any change during the reaction. 。 . 。  . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . Okay, they don't undergo any change. So what are your spectator ion? NO3 minus one is one because nothing happened to it in the reaction. But initially it was NO3 minus one aqueous, and it was still NO3 minus one aqueous. That means the NO3 ions are not really doing anything. That is what is meant by spectator. Spectator simply means that it's just there watching the reaction happen. It is not participating in the reaction. Okay, is this clear? Okay, what a spectator ion is? While the other ones
सर
are,
जो लाइक ऑक्सीडाइज भी ना हो या रिडक्शन भी ना हो वो वाला.
नहीं कुछ भी ना हो रहा हो ना, मतलब they're not doing anything. Whatever, I mean,
अच्छा
they're
मतलब
exact,
सेम रहेगा दोनों मतलब.
हाँ, they're exactly the same.
सही.
Mg को देखो ना, look at Mg. Mg was Mg solid, now it's Mg plus 2 aqueous. That means it didn't do anything. I mean, it's doing something, right? H plus 1 was aqueous, and now it's hydrogen gas on the other side. So that means that is also doing uh, something. So cancel out spectralions, don't undergo, so that don't undergo any change. And what you're going to do is you're going to rewrite the equation without spectralions. So you're going to rewrite the equation without spectralions. So, so what you're going to write is Mg solid. I mean, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the first equation. So let's, and I'm just going to remove the spectralions from this equation. So I'm just going to get rid of this NO3 minus 1 because it wasn't doing anything in the reaction. And now my remaining equation is my ionic equation. Okay, is this clear?
जी सर.
Here's the remaining equation, that's your ionic equation. So I'm going to do another one. The rules, and you can remember two rules. Rule one, dissociate ionic compounds or things that have ions in them which are aqueous, and cancel out ions that remain completely unchanged. I'm going to do another one. I've got calcium carbonate reacting with, I'm just going to write the equation straight away. Reacting with HCl, and it's producing CaCl2 plus H2O plus CO2 gas.
सर
Calcium,
अगर इनसॉल्युबल रिएक्टेंट्स और सॉल्युबल सॉल्ट हो तो
नहीं
करेंगे.
जो मर्जी, मतलब ionic equation, it doesn't really matter. It could be any reaction.
सही. ओके.
So for example, this is a solid. The first one is a solid. How do I know it's a solid? Because carbonates and phosphates are mostly insoluble, except for silver and lead, except for group one. But otherwise, they're all insoluble. Acids are all aqueous, right? Chlorides are also mostly soluble. Water is a liquid and CO2 is a gas. So I'm going to dissociate HCl and I'm going to dissociate calcium chloride. So I'm going to rewrite this equation down. So there is 2H plus 1 plus 2Cl. So we've got, I mean, that's the first one. HCl had two ions. It had H plus 1 and it had Cl minus 1. Okay. Calcium chloride, I'm going to dissociate as well. Calcium has two ions. One is calcium, the other one is Cl. So I'm going to have Ca is group 2, so it's plus 2 ions. And Cl is group 7, so it's minus 1, and and you're going to have two Cl ions. Now, water is a liquid, and CO2 happens to be a gas. So which ions, which ions are spectator ions in this case?
फ्लोराइड.
Okay, that did not do anything. Okay, it was Cl minus 1 and Cl minus 1. It remained exactly the same. The rest obviously did undergo some change. You had calcium carbonate, so I mean, something happened to it. The calcium and the carbon. I mean, so basically there was a reaction happening. There was H plus one. You can't find H plus one on the other side. I mean, you don't see H plus one aqueous as it is. Cl minus one was exactly the same. So we're going to write the ionic equation without the spectator ion. So it's calcium carbonate solid plus 2H plus 1 aqueous. And it's going to be calcium plus 2 aqueous plus H2O gas plus CO2 gas. Okay, that's your ionic equation. You clear? Is this clear? So
जी
first thing, dissociate. And second step, remove spectator. So remember, any equation can be turned into the ionic equation. Basically removes the irrelevant things. I mean, chloride was not really doing anything, so why discuss chloride? So they just remove it from the equation. Okay, let's do another one. Although we haven't, let's have got this reaction, which is ammonium sulfate plus calcium, not calcium. Okay, and it's producing sodium sulfate. And let's assume the equation is already with us. So we've got this equation. Anything that has NH4 in it is aqueous. Anything that has Na in it is group 1 in it is also soluble. Well, water is a liquid and ammonia is a gas. I need to balance this. There are two NH4s, two NH3s. Na is twice, right? What else do we have? We've got, we need to balance the H's. There are two H's and there are eight H's. So that's 10 H's. There are six H's. I need 10 H's. I need four more. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. So we've got this equation. Forget where did you get this equation. The next step, how do you convert it into ionic equation? Anything that is soluble, it will dissociate. This will dissociate as well.
and
This
like
one,
NH will become 2 and minus.
the yoga case, which two ions are present over here? It's NH4 and NSO4 minus 2, right? These are the two ions that are present, right? NH4 plus 1 and NSO4 minus 2, except that there are two NH4 plus 1. So I'm just going to add 2. So the next one, it's Na ions and OH ions, right? So it's 2 Na plus 1 and 2 OH minus 1. Okay, then Na2SO4 dissociates. What ions are present over here? It's Na plus 1 and SO4 minus 2, and there are two Na plus 1. And then you have water and you've got carbon dioxide. So all of these are aqueous. These ions are floating around in water. And water is a liquid. CO2 happens to be a gas. Acha batao, which ones are spectator ions?
Sulfate and sodium.
Okay, sodium ions, nothing happened to them. Sodium ions, nothing happened to them. So they are spectator ions. Sulfate is also exactly the same on both sides. The others are not spectator ions. NH4, you can't find NH4 on the other side. Okay, so अच्छा so ये CO2 लिख दिए. It's not CO2, it's actually
Ammonia.
ammonia. ठीक है, it's actually ammonia. अच्छा ये हो गया. So my ionic equation, my final ionic equation is it's NH4 plus 1 aqueous plus 2 OH minus 1 aqueous, and on the other side the product is water, which is a liquid, and ammonia, that is a gas. Okay, is this clear?
जी सर.
So you can convert pretty much any equation if you know the states. Knowing the states is very important. So let's do another one. Let's say
सर एक
sodium hyd
क्वेश्चन है, ये एम्फोटेरिक ऑक्साइड्स वगैरह इसमें ही आएगा?
वो भी करते हैं उसके बाद.
ये वो इसी में इंक्लूडेड है, इसी चैप्टर में?
हाँ. Let's say the NaOH plus HCl produces NaCl plus H2. Na is group 1, so it's soluble. HCl is an acid, it's soluble. Na is group 1 again, it's soluble. Water is a liquid. ठीक है, क्या होगा अब? Dissociate this, dissociate this, dissociate this. What two ions are present over here? It's Na and OH. So you've got Na plus 1 plus OH. And both of them happen to be soluble. HCl, that's aqueous, so it's H plus 1 plus Cl minus 1. NaCl is also aqueous, so it's Na plus 1 plus. The ions are separated, they're scattered, they're floating around in water. Okay? And the last one is water. But which ones are spectator ions? कौन से spectator ions? Which ones are spectator ions? Anyone else? मतलब टाइप कर लो. Yeah, Shanze, Rania, Nabila. Which ones are spectator ions that didn't do anything in the reaction? First one, Cl minus 1. It's exactly the same after the reaction. So it didn't really do anything. Na plus 1. And you got
Na
Na
प्लस
plus 1.
वन.
उधर भी Na plus 1. So that means
सर एक
nothing
सवाल
happened.
है, अगर फिजिकल स्टेट डिफरेंट हो तब भी कैंसिल आउट होगा?
नहीं.
लाइक अगर इस
Everything
तरफ Na सॉलिड होता उस तरफ एक्वस होता?
फिर नहीं कैंसिल. फिर तो मतलब है उसने कुछ किया है ना. वो
अच्छा सही.
सॉल्व. So spectator ions are ones that don't do anything, even if it's a change of state, even if it's a change in solubility, they don't do anything. So anyways, your final ionic equation is OH minus 1 aqueous plus H plus 1 aqueous. And the product that's getting formed is H2O. Liquid. In all acid-base reactions, this is the basic stuff that happens. The base provides the OH ions and the acid provides the H plus 1. Okay? Is this clear? So
जी.
एक और कर लेते हैं. Aluminum carbonate plus let's do sulfuric acid. Al is plus 3, so this would be 3 CO3 is minus 2. Plus let's do HCl. Now what's going to happen is that you will get AlCl3 plus water plus carbon dioxide. Carbonates are all insoluble, so this one is a solid. Acids are all soluble. Cls are also all soluble except for silver and lead. Water is a liquid and CO2 is a gas, and you can balance it. Okay, there are 2 Als, so have 2 Als. 6 Cls, 6 Cls, 6 Hs, 6 Hs. And there are 3 carbons on the left side, so you're going to have 3 carbons on the right side as well. So we are going to, so what we're going to do is we're going to, the first one, don't dissociate. Dissociate all compounds that are ionic, and they are in aqueous state. So only dissociate this. The first one is not, if it's a solid, it can't dissociate. The ions are not going to get scattered. So the first one is a solid. HCl will dissociate. AlCl3 will also dissociate. So you have Al and you've got Cl ions. And apparently you've got two Al ions and you've got six Cl ions. So yeah. So water is a liquid and CO2 is a gas. So is this clear that I've only dissociated compounds that are ionic and they are soluble? Is this clear? And the next thing is we need to get rid of the spectator. So I'm going to get rid of this because it's pairing on both sides. And I guess nothing else can be cancelled out. You've got carbonate, you've got carbon dioxide. Something happened to it. You had Al as a compound. Now you have Al as ions that are floating around. So they did do something. You had hydrogen ions, and they turned into water, right? So my final ionic equation would be, it's going to be Al2 solid plus 6H plus 1 aqueous, and the product is 2Al plus 3. Yeah, that's it. Plus water plus carbon dioxide. Here is a liquid, this is a gas. I say, is this clear? Clear? Can you clear?
Yes.
So we'll end it here. And this is ionic equations. Then we'll cover the other topics as well. Very quickly in acid basis salts.
सर
Okay.
आपके पास केमिकल एनर्जेटिक्स और वो रेट ऑफ रिएक्शन के नोट्स हैं वो भेज देंगे प्लीज।
हाँ होंगे, मैं देखता हूँ, ठीक।
वो भेज दीजिएगा फिर। ओके, अल्लाह
हाँ।
हाफिज़।